couple minutes after the hour, so we can go ahead and get started. Our first presenter for today is Janine Higgins. Janine is the Director of Operations and the Nutrition Research Director for the CCTSI, and she's going to talk to us about the move of the outpatient CTRC into the new building.
Thanks, Ben. I just want to do a quick poll to see where everybody is. Some of you might know this already. We've had a couple of CTRC move town halls. So if Natasha wants to put up our poll for about a minute or so while we wait a few others to join, we can see where everybody is before we get started. Natasha, I don't see the poll.
I am launching it. Just one moment. Sorry about that. Let's see. Does everybody see that now?
Yep.
Okay.
All righty. Well, people are answering those, and the last few people join us. I am going to go ahead and share my screen and get started here. Plenty of opportunities to ask questions and hopefully have them answered at the end. If you want to put them in the chat, that's also perfectly fine. Ooh, let me do this. All right. So I'm going to just talk solely about the Adult Outpatient Clinical and Translational Research Center, or CTRC move. And this is only affecting our adult outpatient CTRC clinic. We're moving from the University of Colorado Hospital Leprino Office Building, or LOB, to that brand new shiny, right behind me, Anschutz Health Sciences Building. The CTRC inpatient unit will remain exactly where it is, and operations will not change for the inpatient unit. It will remain on the 12th floor at University of Colorado Hospital. However, everything on the LOB 3rd floor will move to the new Anschutz Health Sciences Building. The outpatient clinic, cardiovascular imaging services, the core lab, nutrition, DEXA and exercise testing, as well as the image exercise facility, scheduler operations, and all of CCTSI administration. This is the new building viewed from the north. The main entrance is on the side here, the west side, and this is the parking lot on the north side, where many spaces will be reserved for patient and visitor parking only. If we look in plan view, here is the Fitzsimmons building, Research 1, Research 2, LOB, and UCH over here. You can see that the Anschutz Health Sciences Building is directly adjacent to Research 2, and the reserved parking is directly north of the building, with the main entrance here on the west side. Everything that you need to know is on the CCTSI homepage. There's a big button that says Adult Outpatient CTRC is moving. So all of the things that I'm covering here can be found on that page if you missed something. The nursing and outpatient clinic is completely closed on March 31 and April 1st, reopening a little later than normal at 9 a.m. on April 4th. No visits at all can be scheduled during those closed dates because there'll be lots of people packing and movers going backwards and forwards between buildings. The core lab is closed for a longer period of time because they have a lot of equipment to move. They are closed March 28 to April 4, but they'll process samples on any day that the outpatient clinic is open. They just won't be running assays during this period. The exercise facilities in DEXA moved the week before the clinic, March 23 to 29. The Nutrition Metabolic Kitchen has already moved to the Anschutz Health and Wellness Centre in December. And I just want to point out that the kitchen is now separated from the Anschutz Health Sciences building. It is kitty corner across at the Anschutz Health and Wellness Centre, and we're sharing that kitchen with Anschutz Health and Wellness Centre programs. All administrative services move March 28 to April 4 in a sequenced way. We are moving from LOB, which is a hospital building, to the new building, which is university space. So everyone needs to be sure they've got an active CU Anschutz badge to access most of the spaces. The main change is that we are changing from UCH Epic to CU Medicine Epic. This should be invisible to our users. And I want to assure you that all of your patient demographics you've been using in the UCH Epic instance are also available in the CU Medicine Epic. So you will not have to find those patients or enter them again. Research appointments definitely still need to be linked in Encore the same way that you're doing now. And billing for outpatient visits will still be through Epic, but now they will be sent to you from CU Medicine rather than University of Colorado Hospital. So things are very similar. All outpatient studies with pharmacy, investigational pharmacy needs do need to be transferred from the UCH investigational pharmacy to the brand new CU Anschutz research pharmacy, which is really conveniently located in the same building as the outpatient CTRC. And Dr. Sam Ellis is the director of the Anschutz research pharmacy, and he will be talking right after me to answer any of your research pharmacy questions. The IRB considers this a minor change, and since last fall, they have been filing administrative amendments for every affected study because there are hundreds. A copy of this administrative amendment and an approval letter will be added to the amendment instead of the usual change form, so look out for those. If you do not find one of those for any of your affected studies, please contact the IRB directly. If you are using an external IRB, please check with them as soon as possible about what they might need or require from you. And similarly, report the address change to study sponsor as soon as possible. If your study sponsor requires a tour of the space or the medication room or anything along those lines, that can be scheduled beginning March 6 by contacting Diane Branham, the CTRC nursing manager. Her contact details are on the CCTSI Move webpage and all of the CTRC pages. Again, look for the button. It's got everything that you need to know, including contact details of who you can ask questions from about anything to do with the new building. We will be running tours and orientations of the space for research teams March 7 to 18. They are strictly limited to 10 people per time slot or tour because of current COVID restrictions. We can't increase that capacity. So please make sure if you want to see the new space to sign up on the Move webpage. We will also be emailing this to the CTRC user distribution list in the coming week. I do want to point out that you will have to look up phone numbers. No phone numbers will be forwarded from the current location because they're hospital phone numbers and we're moving to a university building, but there will be a recorded message for the main CTRC numbers that lists the new number for people to call. Again, we will post the new phone numbers on the website as soon as we have them. We have 108 parking spaces reserved for visitors and patients. As with all parking at the university, these are paid parking via a kiosk system. The university is currently considering covering these parking fees for investigator-initiated studies for a short time. That's still under negotiation. We hope to have final details on that during the move final town hall, and I'll give you those dates in a minute. There are always going to be options for each study to purchase vouchers or codes for participants through the university parking office, similar to the way Barbara Davis Centre currently handles parking for their patient services. And the nice thing is there's good light rail access. Patients can take the campus light rail circulator right at the light rail stop and get off in front of Academic Office 1, walk behind Academic Office 1, and you're right at the new building. There is a change to what can be provided in moving from a hospital building to a university building. And that means that there can't be any add-on clinical blood draws or standard of care services before, during, or after any research visit in the Anschutz Health Sciences building. If this will affect you, please contact myself or go to the website and use the contact link there. Again, you must be really cautious after the move to link your research visits in Epic to Encore. Currently, under the UCH Epic system, they have dedicated billers who do check research visits are linked, and you get a warning. If they're not linked, you get multiple chances to correct that and link them before a patient is billed. That may not happen under the CU medicine system, so please be very diligent about linking so that your patients do not get bills for research studies. Our CTRC core labs, again, will be closed for a longer period of time because they need to revalidate all the assays after the machinery is moved. Any samples that need to go to the UCH clinical lab at the LOB now require paper requisition forms. If your study does send samples from the CTRC outpatient unit down to the UCH clinical lab and you haven't been contacted about a paper requisition form, please let us know. The CTRC is only going to provide a free courier once per day in the afternoons from the CTRC over to the clinical lab. It can only be used for non-stat samples because we can't guarantee the time that courier will show up. So any samples that are stat cannot use this daily courier, but if you have samples that require expedient processing but can be held for 24 to 72 hours, like LFTs or CBCs, the CTRC core lab is going to process those samples for you at no charge and send them across to the hospital clinical lab with the daily courier. If you need results within 24 hours, you will still need to be responsible for providing that courier stat over to the clinical lab. The CTRC will pay for this processing through the end of 2023. Any studies beginning or submitting applications for funding now should include these processing costs in your budget if you need them. With stat labs, you either need to walk them across, arrange your own courier, or the nursing corps will provide a courier, call the courier for you and send the sample, and we can bill you directly through Epic. As with any CTRC service, the cost is around $20 per stat courier. The Nutrition Metabolic Kitchen is now located at Anschutz Health and Wellness Centre, but our offices are in the Anschutz Health Sciences building. We do have a small area in the Anschutz Health Sciences building to carry out any nutrition needs you might need, like ad lib diets and things like that. However, all diet pickups can only be conducted at the CTRC outpatient front desk in the clinic. And that's because nutrition now has 3 FTEs to cover patient visits at 4 separate locations. So we can't guarantee that we'll be in the kitchen when a patient arrives for a pickup. We can guarantee that there'll always be someone at the front desk for them to pick up their diet. Again, we'll use a daily courier service. We're not located adjacent to the clinic anymore, so nutrition can't accommodate any unscheduled ad hoc or same day requests as we have in the past. The last CTRC move town hall before the big grand opening will be on February 24 at noon. Again, you need to register for this, and you can find those details on the CTRC Move webpage. So if people have questions, I will stop sharing so that I can see what people have popped in the chat. If anything, feel free to unmute yourself or basically enter into the chat. So the first question I see is asking if people will be able to enter from the east or the south side. Yes, you will. So the main entrance is on the west side, but the lovely open big plaza area is on the south side of this building. And on the west side is more the loading dock. So I wouldn't take patients up on, sorry, on the east side. So I wouldn't take patients up on the east side, but staff can certainly enter from that side. Then there's a question about parking for NIH funded studies. Again, we are in negotiations with the university to cover those costs for a limited time. And as soon as we know the answer to that question, we will certainly let you know. The entry to the parking lot on the north side is actually on 17th Avenue. So that's the long street that runs right from the east to the west side of campus on the north side of RC 1 and 2. So that's where you get into the parking. Copy of the slides, I will post them on the CCTSI website on the Move page, and I'm sure Natasha and Matt will also post them. Julie, paper requisitions for the core lab, please just pop me an email, Janine Higgins @childrenscolorado.org, or send a message through the Move webpage contact email. Any further questions?
Hey, Janine, just to clarify, you may, I think it's 19th Street is the entrance to that parking lot. You may want to just double check that before and post that into chat, because I think 17th comes into campus and is between the hospital and Leprino. And this entrance will be between the north parking lot and the new AHSB.
I think you are right. I am too far south. Yes, it's 19th. Thanks, Sam.
Okay. Yep.
Janine, there's one more question just to confirm. Will the lab be able to process samples during the closure?
Through the lab closure, yes. On the dates of the clinic closure, no. So on March 31st and April Fool's Day, we get to move on April 1, there will be no CTRC services provided. Other than that, yes, when the clinics open, they will provide sample processing. Nicole, yes, please schedule the sponsor tours directly with Diane. Julie, I will contact you in the chat about the courier so that I can pass over to Sam, and I will continue answering questions in the chat if you have any more. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Janine. Appreciate it. So I'm Sam Ellis, faculty member over in the School of Pharmacy and director of the new CU Research Pharmacy. I think there's some polling questions as well that Natasha is going to put up that are around the some basic contact information around the research pharmacy. So if you want to fill those out over the next minute or so, and we'll take a look at those responses at the end or in chat, that would be fantastic.
We're going to give the
Okay,
poll
wait.
another minute or two. We've got about 25% that have submitted. If we can get the rest of attendees to answer these poll questions, that would be great. Thank you.
Probably should have put NA on all those polling questions. So I think a lot of this information is brand new to the research community. While you guys are finishing up the polling questions, I'm going to share my slides. I'm just looking to. Okay, good. Let me share real quick. All right. So the new CU Research Pharmacy, and I say new because it truly is new to the campus. This is something that's been in development for a number of years. So we're all very excited across the campus to implement this new research pharmacy, which will really serve the outpatient research community, both for the outpatient CTRC, which we're going to be discussing today, but also for the outpatient research needs of our community. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking.
Sorry to interrupt. We can't see your slides.
You can't.
Sorry about that.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop share real quick. Let's share again. How about now?
No. I can pull them up if you want to.
Okay, that would be great if you don't mind.
Can everybody see?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I'm going to be spending just a few minutes today talking about the background and kind of how we've come to this point across the campus. We'll be talking about the services that the new research pharmacy will be providing kind of out of the gates, but also eventually talking about what it will look like in the future. We'll be discussing the different phases of opening, as well as the transition plan, and giving you some guidance and hopefully kind of some next steps that will help both of us in this move and transition from the existing UCH research pharmacy to the new CU research pharmacy. Next slide. So CU Research Pharmacy, actually I opened the original investigational drug service here on campus as a service center back in 2012, and have done these activities for the better part of a decade now out of the Barbara Davis Center, but service more than just the BDC. We also have relationships with rheumatology and cardiology, infectious disease, just to name a few of the groups we're working with. And really this has evolved based on new federal regulations and state regulations for improved handling, storage, and especially compounding of medications, both sterile, non-sterile, and especially around hazardous medications. And so in 2015, the campus developed the Investigational Product Review Committee, as many of you are familiar with. We created a partnership across the campus, and in turn, the Office of the Vice Chancellor of Research, the School of Medicine, and the Skaggs School of Pharmacy have been really highly involved over the last 3 or 4 years of developing out this new research pharmacy. And I'll show you some pictures and other things about this space. So it really will provide a state-of-the-art facility that will meet the federal, state, and local standards that have changed over the last 5 or 6 years. And I think this is really in part due to national attention over pharmacies and compounding in the last 10 years that have resulted in a number of bad outcomes for patients. And as such, the FDA has created new standards. Pharmacy organizations, other national regulation groups have created much stricter practices around how we handle product, clear from the receiving standpoint to the preparation and compounding, and clear to the disposal of those products. So we're going to be open the same basic hours of the CTRC, Monday through Friday, 7 to 4. And if there's after hour needs, we can have those discussions with individual research teams. Next slide. So we have moved in to this space as of about a week and a half ago. So we are becoming functional and operational. There's still things on our punch list that need to take place, but we're working through those with the campus. And so this has been fantastic for us to get in and really start to create a space that will be functioning for the entire campus. We do have, as of last week, a pharmacy license now. So that's a success for us. But there's still a lot to do around programming of the HVAC system and clean room certifications. And so we're working towards those over the next 2 to 3 weeks. But these clean rooms are going to be fantastic. Again, we have specialty rooms in this space for both hazardous and non-hazardous drugs. And though we're not going to be taking over any services for the outpatient cancer center, I think it's important for us to realize that when I mention the word hazardous, it really pertains to national lists that have been developed, the NIOSH list of those medications that are deemed either hazardous to the patient, to the person administering the medication, or the person compounding those medications. And just to put that into context, many of the medications that we think are everyday medications may be on this list. So things like estrogens or thyroid hormones, HIV medications are on this hazardous list. And so we have to have very special practices around how we handle those medications. And it could be as simple as taking pills from one bottle into another bottle, to more complex IV compounding kind of products. We will have other compounding services. So we're going to have the ability to make solutions or creams and ointments clear to making placebo formulations using our encapsulation systems. We do have a new software that is being put into place called Vestigo. So we've been trained on that, and this will allow us, from our standpoint, but also from your standpoint and for sponsors, to be able to track investigational product from the moment it's received into the pharmacy to the moment it leaves the pharmacy as part of our disposal plan. And so every aspect will be tracked. The nice thing, I guess, about COVID has been that it's really pushed this onto research pharmacies across the country to have remote monitoring. And so that might be remote monitoring for the study sponsors, the CRAs, the CROs, but also for the FDA. They've been more inclined to do remote monitoring through this software. So we'll be really at the leading edge of software for this research pharmacy. And then we're in the process of training now highly specialized pharmacists that we've brought into the program. We're currently hiring techs, which has been a struggle. So if anybody knows of a pharmacy tech out there that might be interested in coming to see you, let me know. But we have a couple of good candidates, but it's, as Janine mentioned, some of these positions have been posted for months. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but regardless, we'll be operational at the same time the CTRC is operational. And regardless if we have everyone trained or not, we have enough pharmacists on hand to help with this transition. Next slide. So this is just a slightly different angle of the main atrium of the pharmacy, of the AHSB. Pharmacies are never so lucky to get windows, so this is pretty cool space. But where that red circle is off on the east side of the main atrium is actually the corridor, and that little door you can see inside that corridor is actually the front door of the pharmacy. So the pharmacy is conveniently located right off the main atrium on the first floor, and with easy access, obviously, to get up to the CTRC. This is our address for deliveries of investigational product to our pharmacy. And right now, we have myself as the director. We have Sue Mead on faculty and has been with us for about 6 months now, or even a little bit longer. She is going to be the manager and directing of operations for the research pharmacy. Her background is actually from the apothecary pharmacy up in the Boulder CU campus, where she was director there for 10 years. We have Sue Finstrom on faculty and brought in into the research pharmacy for her expertise in pharmaceutics and formulation expertise. And so she'll be helping us with our compounding and formulation development. And then Michaela is our most recent pharmacist hire. And she comes from a background of 10 years of both sterile and non-sterile compounding. So she has a tremendous amount of experience, which will be beneficial for us all. Next slide. So a couple different ways to contact us. And I think, as I'll mention here in the transitioning slides, is that we have a email address that you can see here, research.pharmacy@cuanschutz.edu. And this will be include all of the techs and pharmacists in our program, which is a plus to have multiple people looking at email communication. So you'll be receiving emails from this email address, and we expect communication to happen through this address. We also have our website. So our website has frequently asked questions. It has our pricing structure. And so we did develop a 2-tier pricing structure for this. So I just ask that as you are working with your study coordinators, PIs, and finance individuals, that the pharmacy's brought into this process very early on with budget development. So we can tailor the needs that you have to our prices. And as Janine mentioned, we don't have phone systems yet in place. And so once we do, that'll be posted on the website as well. Next slide. So the services will be involved from the very beginning. So we ask that you reach out to us for budget planning. As I mentioned, we have a 2-tier approach. And so we have investigator-initiated trials at kind of a lower fee schedule versus industry-sponsored. And that's very similar to other programs, some on this campus and some obviously off campus. We'll have each study team work with a lead pharmacist for that particular study. And we'll work with the sponsors then to make sure that person is on the delegation logs. And then that lead pharmacist will be responsible for training up the rest of the pharmacists and technicians on the team for internal documentation. So we'll be involved clear from budget to SIVs, and then obviously we'll be very involved with study handling, clear from the receiving to the disposal and closeout visits and everything in between for your research visits. One of the features I just wanted to point out for remote monitoring is we have access for monitors to be on site. We have an individualized room for those individuals that's attached to the pharmacy, but still secure. And so they don't count as having access to the research pharmacy. There'll be a pass-through window and door and intercom systems in place. And then we can do many of our sites remote now. And most monitors I've talked with over the last year or two are very excited about Vestigo and its ability to do remote monitoring for our study monitors. And then, as I mentioned, compounding services is part of this as well. Next slide. So the opening phase that's most important for this transition of the CTRC is going to be phase 1. And so we've met with a handful of researchers to start this transition planning process. We'll be reaching out to the rest of you in the next week. If you don't hear from us by next week, please feel free to email us at our email address. But this initial process will be for developing that transition plan, and that will be unique to every single study. And once we have the sponsor's approval for that transition plan, then we'll be working with the UC Health IDS program to transition research product over to the new research pharmacy. We will be, or have, and we have a draft form of it right now, but we will be posting a welcome packet. So that way every researcher on campus can view our welcome document that actually talks about how to get a study into the CU research pharmacy. It'll have a lot of the details, step processes, clear from how to get started with the budget to scheduling visits within the research pharmacy, sending orders, clear to monitoring visits and disposal of product. The next phase, because I know some of you are also oversee some of the outpatient research investigational product in your own sites that aren't through the CTRC, we will be having further communications about what that transition looks like. It'll be happening after we transition to CTRC, and we'll be working with investigators who are currently handling their own research study medication in their own office space across campus, and we'll be working with them to transition that into the new research pharmacy as well. Next slide. So the research teams as we meet with them, I did want to point out one other thing is that we will be asking individuals to email us protocols and other study related documents that pertain to us. Obviously, we'll be working closely with you to get the training and working with the sponsors to get the training so we can be put on the delegation logs. And then once our certifications are all done, well, that'll be kind of the final step that we'll send the sponsor to make sure that transition is in place. And then we'll be working with the UCH IDS to make sure that happens in a timely manner. Next slide. So scheduling right now, at this time, we're going to be asking all researchers to schedule through Outlook calendar using our research pharmacy email address. That could change in the future, but as of now, this is really the approach that we have. In the future, Vestigo is working towards a scheduling application, but I just want people to know that this is going to be different than how they schedule the actual visit for the CTRC that Janine went through. So these are two different mechanisms for scheduling. So we'll ask people to schedule through our research pharmacy. We also ask that the order for that visit, the signed order, is attached to that visit or emailed to us separately, so we have an electronic copy. We will be working with each research team to develop the standardized order form for that particular study. And then obviously, as we move forward, if there's any kind of changes to study visits or anything else that would impact study medication administration or preparation, we would need to know about that as quickly as we can. And so we'll distribute our phone systems in place for that. And as far as the future is concerned, obviously there's a new service center on campus, relatively new, and obviously expanded from what I've done here at the Barbara Davis Center. But we'll be sending out frequent surveys to get feedback, and we'll welcome that feedback and look for ways to improve processes in a collaborative manner moving forward. We'll be sending out additional information about the non-CTRC transitions. So please be aware of that and look for that in future email communications. And then we'll continue to work with stakeholders for expanded services. So if you're working on research studies that might not fit the typical traditional investigational product for a study, please feel free to reach out to us. And we've obviously entertained a number of these questions and interests already to look at other kind of services across campus. So with that, I welcome everyone to the new research pharmacy, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Let me look through chat real quick. So right now, one of the questions is about placebos and capsule formulations. So, there's really interesting regulations around tablet production. We're not discarding tablet production. We'd like to get to that point. But one of the issues that we've encountered with other studies is that pretty much every tablet identifier on an existing branded or generic product is proprietary. And so even if I had an active tablet in front of me and I could reproduce that tablet in a placebo form, I can't have the same numbering or logos on that tablet. So you really have to break that down into producing both the active as well as the inactive. And the costs with that go up dramatically for purposes of more manufacturing within the tablet production. So as of now, we'll be mainly doing just capsules, but we're definitely looking at what that would look like to expand into tablet production. Nicole had a question. Will we request use of the pharmacy for new studies through the HSR portal? It'll be a little bit different. Obviously, we'll get flagged through the HSR portal, but we'll have you contact us directly as well for use of the pharmacy, because we want to be involved with that service very early on, even before it gets into the portal. But there will be a link within the portal to pick the CU Research Pharmacy, and we'll be notified of that as well. Oh, good. Thank you, Janine, for posting that link. Any other questions? So I think the big thing for me is that if you don't hear from us by the next week, please reach out to us. We have what we think are very comprehensive lists of researchers and teams that are currently using the CTRC for medication administration or dispensing. And so we're definitely interested in reaching out to each and every one of you, but somehow if we didn't capture that on the lists from Encore and other sources, then please feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, any other questions for either Sam or Janine?
Sam, I will say some people direct messaged me with some very specific questions to their research study. So I've just directed them to get in contact with you directly, just so you know.
Yeah,
there will be some additional follow-up, okay?
I figure there'll be a lot of emails that'll come across from after this meeting, which is great. I'm officially back in town as of today, so this is good. I'm not planning on going out of town until this pharmacy starts up.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you all for joining today, and we'll see you next month.